It's 2 a.m. A man cuts through your bedroom window. Your sister's sleeping next to you. He presses a knife to your throat and whispers, "Come with me, or I'll kill your family." What would you do? This wasn't a nightmare. That's exactly what happened to 14-year-old Elizabeth Smart on June 5, 2002. But here's the twisted part. For the next 9 months, Elizabeth was everywhere and nowhere. Shopping in stores, walking public streets, a veil covering her face while thousands searched for her. How did her kidnapper hide her in plain sight? And why didn't she scream for help? To understand how that was even possible, we have to go back to where it started. June 5th, 2002, 2 a.m. The Smart family home in Salt Lake City was quiet. Elizabeth had just finished 8th grade. It was the start of a beautiful summer, and life was ordinary, until she woke up to find a stranger standing at the foot of her bed, holding a knife. Her little sister, Mary Catherine, slept beside her. The man's voice was barely a whisper, but the threat was unmistakable. "Come with me, or I'll kill your family." What would you do at 14? What choice would you make? Elizabeth didn't scream. She went with him into the darkness. Mary Catherine was awake. She was so terrified, helpless, and could only pretend to sleep and watch her sister disappear. In that moment, everything changed, but this was only the beginning. By sunrise, the Smart family knew something was terribly wrong. Elizabeth was gone. What happened next was unprecedented. Within hours, the Federal Heights neighborhood was flooded with law enforcement. Police cruisers lined every street. FBI agents joined local investigators. And then came the volunteers. Not dozens, but hundreds. Then thousands. Every single day, mobilized to search streets, fields, canyons, and mountainsides. Helicopters cut through the air overhead, tracing systematic grid patterns. The entire city transformed into a search operation. Flyers went up on every corner, spread across websites, and shared thousands of times. The case became national news almost immediately. Ed and Lois Smart appeared on television, pleading directly to whoever took their daughter. America watched, waited, asked the same question over and over. How does someone walk into a house full of sleeping people and take a 14-year-old girl without anyone hearing? Finally, there was hope. Mary Catherine came forward with details she remembered. The kidnapper was tall. He had long hair. His voice was distinctive, strange, almost sing-song. Police felt confident. This was enough. They would find him. But the days stretched into weeks. The leads went nowhere, and Elizabeth remained missing. What police didn't know, what they couldn't have known, was that their search area was right. Elizabeth was close, closer than anyone imagined, just not close enough to be found. The man who took Elizabeth Smart was Brian David Mitchell, a homeless street preacher who believed he was a prophet sent by God. He called himself Emmanuel. His wife, Wanda Barzee, was his accomplice in everything that followed. They didn't take Elizabeth somewhere hidden. They took her everywhere. Campsites, makeshift shelters, public spaces where people walked past her every day. She wore robes, veils, later gray wigs and sunglasses. She was disguised but not locked away. She stood in a library when a concerned citizen called police. The officer came, looked at her, accepted Mitchell's explanation that she was his daughter and the veil was religious, left. She was at a public event when someone noticed she looked distressed and asked if she needed help. Mitchell pulled her away before she could answer. The question persists. Why didn't she scream? Why didn't she run? But that question assumes fear looks the way we expect it to. Mitchell's control was psychological, not just physical. Though he did shackle her to a tree at first, he threatened her family. He assaulted her repeatedly. He manipulated her understanding of what was possible until her brain calculated that silence was the only survival option. Elizabeth has addressed this directly. I never had Stockholm Syndrome. Just because I physically stopped resisting doesn't mean I hated it any less. She didn't sympathize. She endured. That's how 9 months passed. Summer 2002, Salt Lake City Library. A concerned patron noticed something wrong about a veiled woman in robes. They called the police. Detective John Ritchie arrived within minutes. He asked to see her face. Mitchell stepped between them, claiming their religion forbade women from removing veils or speaking to men. Neither Barzee nor Elizabeth spoke. The detective weighed his options and walked away. Elizabeth later described that moment as devastating. I felt like hope was walking out the door. She blamed herself for not speaking, crushed that the detective hadn't pushed harder. In another incident, Mitchell tried tearing down a missing poster of Elizabeth from the Deseret News building, while Elizabeth stood directly beside him, veiled and silent. When confronted by an employee, Mitchell claimed the girl had been found. The employee never made the connection. Each time Elizabeth was disguised, stayed silent, as she was terrified that speaking would get her family killed. It's easy to imagine we would act differently, that we would notice, that we would push harder, ask more questions, refuse convenient explanations. But in those moments, surrounded by everyday life, doubt creeps in. Am I overreacting? Is this my business? What if I'm wrong? Those moments slipped away until March 12, 2003, Sandy, Utah. Two separate couples recognized Mitchell and Barzee from an episode of America's Most Wanted. They called the police immediately. Officers responded and asked the veiled woman her name. Augustine Marshall, she told them, the name Mitchell had given her. Even separated from her captors, even with rescue happening, Elizabeth maintained that identity. It wasn't until Officer Karen Jones handcuffed her and Sergeant Quezada asked a second time, "Are you Elizabeth?" that she finally replied using Mitchell's own language, "Thou sayest." 9 months of captivity ended on a street corner in broad daylight. It took nearly 9 years for justice to arrive. Brian David Mitchell's trial was delayed repeatedly after he was deemed mentally unfit for state court proceedings. Finally, in December 2010, a federal jury found him guilty of kidnapping and unlawful transportation of a minor. On May 25, 2011, he received 2 life sentences without parole. In the courtroom that day, Elizabeth Smart, now 23, did something she'd waited years to do. She looked at the man who kidnapped and assaulted her, and she spoke. Mitchell sang hymns, trying to disrupt her as he had throughout the trial. She didn't let it stop her. "I know that you know what you did is wrong," she said. "You took away 9 months of my life that can never be returned." Then she delivered the words that would define her recovery. "You will never affect me again." Wanda Barzee pleaded guilty and served time for her role in the crime. But Elizabeth's ordeal wasn't over. She had to navigate life after captivity while facing constant public judgment. The questions came from everywhere. Why didn't you escape? Why didn't you scream? Why didn't you tell someone? Elizabeth chose to answer those questions, not defensively, but educationally. She became a tireless advocate for survivors. She founded the Elizabeth Smart Foundation and championed federal child protection legislation. She published My Story and co-created a Department of Justice Survivors Guide. She developed Smart Defense, a self-defense program that teaches consent and situational awareness. Most importantly, she confronted the victim-blaming culture directly. "We don't know why they didn't run. We don't know the circumstances," she stated firmly. We really don't have a right to ask that question. She explained that survival isn't about heroic resistance. It's about making whatever choices allow you to endure. Her work has transformed public understanding of trauma, helping countless survivors know they're not alone and have nothing to be ashamed of. If you had been in that library and noticed something felt wrong, do you think you would have pushed harder than the detective did? What would it take for you to speak up? Share your honest thoughts below.